Hello, welcome back to The Young Voter. Now, we haven't been able to chat recently. Last time we talked was after the election, and I sort of gave you my take on the results, how my predictions fared, etc. Today, I'm back, and I'm going to be back every Friday to give you a roundup of the week's political news and try to give some commentary on it and put some context. So, this week was a big week. The lame duck Congress came back after the elections and reconvened on Monday. And what was perhaps more important was that on Wednesday, a lot of leadership posts were voted on for the next Congress, which will convene in January. Now, on Wednesday, perhaps the most important thing that happened was that Nancy Pelosi was reelected as now the Democratic minority leader. So the minority leader in the House and the head Democrat in the House. Now, this is controversial because a lot of blue Democrats, most notably Heath Shuler of North Carolina, a congressman, said that she should step aside because of the big losses that the party sustained on November 2nd. So he challenged her. He had said that if no one else came forward to challenge her for the minority leader position, he would challenge her. He did. He lost, and he admitted beforehand that he had no real chance of succeeding. He lost 43 to 150, so 150 votes to Speaker Pelosi, former Speaker Pelosi, and 43 to Heath Shuler. So again, though, Pelosi was reelected, and Steny Hoyer, who was the current majority leader for the Democrats in the House, will become party whip, and Jim Clyburn, who is the current party whip, will maintain a newly created third leadership slot, so he will remain number three, the number three most powerful House Democrat, but it will be a new position so that he wouldn't have been fighting Steny Hoyer for the whip spot. So that was that. So again, Pelosi's selection has caused controversy. A lot of Blue Dog Democrats said that she's responsible for the defeat on November 2nd, or at least partially, because of her polarizing image, etc. And she should have stepped aside so the Democrats could bring a new face, etc., and come back again in 2012. Now, Pelosi and her allies were able to counter these arguments effectively, and in fact, she won the post again. But she again received a pretty stiff challenge. 43 Democrats, not just blue Democrats, but some other Democrats said that she should have voted against her. But she has been, regardless of what side you take, she definitely has been a big, powerful force, a very effective Speaker of the House and leader of Democrats in the House, and very effective in terms of getting legislation through, and also fundraising. Apparently, since she's been elected Speaker, she's raised over $200 million for Democrats personally, so through her own personal fundraising, etc. So that's a big haul of money for an individual person. She's been a great fundraiser, and she does great work for the Democratic Party, and important work. So again, that side perhaps won out in the day. In other leadership news, nothing really to report other than the Senate leadership remains unchanged. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the Republican, will remain as minority leader, and Senator Harry Reid, who was able to win re-election in Nevada, will remain the Democratic Senate Majority Leader. For the Republicans in the House, John Boehner was elected the leader of House Republicans, once again confirmed, so he will be in the process, and he will be moving forward to become Speaker of the House. Eric Cantor will become the Republican Majority Leader. So those are the leadership issues. Now, certainly that's been a big part of this lame duck Congress that's reconvened to see who will lead the next Congress. Other news that's interesting and that I want to discuss was the indictment of Charlie Rangel, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, who's a 20-term congressman, Democrat, from Harlem. He's represented Harlem since the 70s, and he was recommended for censure by the House Investigative Committee. 9-1, he was recommended for censure. So what does censure mean? Well, it's the second highest form of disciplinary action in the House. So short of expulsion, censure means that you are publicly censured in the House in front of a full session of the House. You stand in the House well, and the Speaker delivers a censure, or a reader censures you publicly in front of the entire House. No congressman has been censured since 1983, where 2 congressmen were censured for having sexual relations with House pages. So again, this is certainly, in 17 years this hasn't happened, and not 17 years, sorry, 27 years. This hasn't happened in 27 years. So it's certainly a big piece of news. And Charlie Rangel was visibly shaken when he exited the chamber after censure was recommended. Now, of course, the entire House has to vote on whether to censure Charlie Rangel. Now, we don't know if that'll happen, but if it does happen, it certainly is a big disgrace for the congressman. He was indicted on 11 charges of corruption, among other things, misappropriation of campaign funds and other things. So certainly this is a long way from Charlie Rangel, one of the most powerful congressmen in this past session of Congress, and one of the most powerful Democrats in the House, and one of the most famous, certainly, having represented Harlem in a big Democratic constituency for a long time, for 40 years. So certainly this is a dark day for Charlie Rangel. Now I want to close off the segment today by talking about 2012, because of course the 2012 campaign starts, or started at least, on November 3rd, the day after the elections. So 2012 is now up in the air, and there are a lot of things being speculated in terms of the House and the Senate. A lot. It seems that Michael Steele might be replaced as the Republican National Committee chair. Of course, Harry Reid has to name a Democratic senatorial campaign committee chair. So a lot of leadership positions need to be filled in a lot of these committees that are there to re-elect members or to elect new members. Again, one of the big items of news is, of course, that the Democrats will be defending 23 seats in the Senate in 2012, and the Republicans only 9. So certainly bad news for Democrats in 2012, at least all in a ground game. But the states that they are defending are states that are generally considered pretty safe for the Democrats, or at least fairly blue states, if not navy blue, certainly teal. But I would say that certainly the 2012 campaign has started in earnest, and it's really in the news now, especially in the Senate and the House. Democrats want to take control over the House, regain control, and Republicans are intent on taking over the Senate, which they see, they think is possible. Especially they would only have to pick up 4 seats now in order to win control of the Senate, which is fairly possible. Out of 23 seats, it's possible they could win 4. So, of course, though, the big item of news in 2012 is the re-election campaign for President Obama. So the front runners on the Republican side are it's really not clear who is running. Of course, none of the front runners have formally declared that they're running. But, the usuals, Mitt Romney, Mike Huckabee, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, then Governor Tim Pawlenty of Minnesota, and, of course, Sarah Palin, who this week was in an interview with Barbara Walters, and she said, quote, "I can beat Barack Obama," unquote. That's very interesting, because a lot of people don't think she can beat Barack Obama, as 67% of the American public, according to a recent poll, doesn't think she is ready to be president, and about 56% have a negative opinion of her. So certainly she's a very polarizing figure, but she thinks she can beat Barack Obama, and perhaps she can. I mean, if the next 2 years go very badly for the president, I think that any of these Republican candidates would have a chance. Now, it seems that Gingrich, Romney, and Palin, I think, are going to run. I think the 3 of them are going to run. I think Palin I think she might. I'm fairly convinced she might run. And why is that? Well, I think she's going to run because Mike Huckabee is very ambivalent about running. It doesn't seem that Mike Huckabee is fully convinced that he will run. He's sort of ambivalent on the fence now. So if he doesn't run, she would really be the one to fill that gap, that evangelical Christian gap and niche of voters, that really right-wing evangelical Christian sort of Baptist voters. Those, I think, would very much support Huckabee, and if Palin were in the primary with Huckabee, then those voters would split and perhaps give the advantage to someone like Newt Gingrich or Mitt Romney. Now, if Huckabee is out of the race, I think Sarah Palin is very well positioned to win the nomination because she definitely has support, strong support, from the right wing of the party, certainly, which is now probably most of the party, and a lot of the evangelical Christians in the party. She certainly has a broad base of support through also the Tea Party movement, of course, which is very strong and has been so successful in primaries over this past year. So I think Sarah Palin has a clear shot at the nomination, and the Republican nomination. Now, what does that mean for her chances against Barack Obama? Well, I'm not going to say she's going to be the new Barry Goldwater, but a lot of people think that if Sarah Palin runs against Barack Obama is going to crush her. I mean, you might see Obama carrying states like West Virginia that are pretty Republican, carrying states like Tennessee or Kentucky. I mean, Sarah Palin is not a very popular figure. People might like her as a talking head, but I think a lot of people are not ready to press that button, that lever for her for president, because a lot of people don't think she's ready. All right, well, this is just a preview. This is just the start of 2012, and we'll keep this going every Friday. All right, thank you again for watching The Young Voter.